welcome to Book World on Trust TV. On the show, we talk with African and international authors, review books and adaptations, while inspiring especially the younger generation into inculcating the habit of book reading. I am Sumaya Abubakar, and today we will be talking about the book Emeka and the Kidnappers. But let's take a short break, and when we come back, you will get to meet the author of this great book. Stay with us. Welcome back to Book World on Trust TV. Now, Alan Barnett said in The History Boys that the best moments in reading are when you come across, something, a thought, a feeling, a way of looking at things, which you had thought special and particular to you. Now here it is, set down by someone else, a person you have never met, someone you even, who is maybe a long time dead. And it is as if the hand of that person has come out and taken yours. Now, that is how relatable books can be. Well, our guest for today is a poet, playwright, author of children's storybooks and young adult fiction, Patrick Tagbo Oguejiofor.
Thank you very much. I'm surprised you got the pronunciation right.
I did justice to the name.
Wow, very interesting. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, the book Emeka and the Kidnappers in general.
Yes.
I mean, from the title of the book, it gives an insight of what it might be. But we all know how authors can just change the whole narrative of a book, and you realize that you don't really know what it entails.
Sure.
So walk us through, the story.
Well, thank you very much, Hajia Abubakar. The Emeka and the Kidnappers is a story about kidnapping. As we are aware, kidnapping is one of the evils, social evils of today.
Indeed.
So I decided to take on this. Actually, Emeka and the Kidnappers is a story for young adults. Before Emeka and the Kidnappers, there was one that preceded it,
okay.
The Secret Place. Because of the success of the Secret Place, sold about over 20,000 copies. Nice. I was encouraged to do a sequel.
Okay.
So Emeka and the Kidnappers is a story of a young teenager. He brilliant teenager. He went to Enugu to spend the holiday with his uncle and the aunt. So just that same day he arrived, the kidnappers came and then picked the uncle. And then they started to make a demand for ransom. But the smart boy was suspicious of the house help, the young man assisting the family. Eventually the police, with the efforts of the young man, the police got hold of the young man. The kidnappers got them arrested. But that is part of the story. The main story is that why? So the message here is that people, before you engage house help, there is the need to do a background check. And secondly, the way you treat them. These people, they must be well taken care of. Otherwise, the temptation will always be there for them to connive with outsiders to kidnap the master. So that is it.
Indeed. So you mentioned earlier that, one of the things that inspired you to write this book is from the stories of kidnappers, sure. happening in the country. And
sure.
Just like you mentioned, we've seen situation of what is happening, and it's so scary where every day you wake up, you hear this kind of stories.
Sure.
And it comes with the whole ransom thing,
sure.
and things might turn out for the bad, worst stuff when the situations are not handled carefully.
Yeah.
So apart from that particular situation, what was your inspiration, behind writing this particular book? What were you trying to, send to people and the nation, anybody that picks this book? What was the inspiration behind you going through the journey of writing this?
It's like you're asking me, why do I write? Well, that's a very difficult question. Well, there are many reasons for writing, or why I write. I write to engage, to fulfill an objective, to entertain, and maybe to teach if need be. Okay? So this is now, kidnapping is one of the social evils of today. It's almost every day there was one story of kidnapping or the other. Okay, so I decided to pick one of those issues affecting the country. You know, as a writer, one of your job is to deal with the challenges of the day.
Indeed.
Where the author fails to deal with this problem, he becomes irrelevant. So this is a problem. I decided to tackle it. Kidnapping. Why do people kidnap? What can we do about it? So these are part of the reasons why Emeka and the Kidnappers was written.
All right, let's talk about the characters of this particular book. I
Yes.
mean, any, should I say, book reader
Yes.
would want to have a sneak peek of what the author was thinking
Yes.
in creating different characters and the names attached to it. I mean,
Yes.
we've seen situations that sometimes names tend to keep memories
Sure.
of what is happening in
Sure.
a particular book. So why did you come up with, Emeka and other particular names that you choose? Any name could be used, but from the story, it looks
Yes.
like you used the Eastern
Yes.
names. Exactly. Why is that?
Yeah, because basically the story actually is set in the eastern part of the country. So as a result, it has to go with the names of the people there. If, for example, it's set in the north, like some of my books, I will have names like Abubakar, Mohammed, Salisu, and the rest of them.
Indeed.
So the names have to do with the background of the story, which is the usual thing to do. So characters of books are usually picked from the environment where the scene or the actions of the novel take place. So hence those names, you have names like Emeka, who is the central character of the story. You have one which is the nickname, the suspect, and then we'll have the two women. These are about 5. I don't want too many characters so
Indeed.
that the reader, the young people don't get distracted with the story.
That is a really interesting aspect. Why I asked that question is that we're talking about African authors.
Yes.
And we have seen situations where some authors, even though they are indigenous, like Nigerian, would
Yes.
prefer to use the Western names to create that platform. So I wanted to, touch about that African origin, that love for culture that you decided to put into. So please explain to us why African stories and African culture.
Yes. As I was saying, my stories, basically, they are stories about Africa, set in Africa, and for African children. So because of this, the stories, the characters have to carry African name. One of my greatest regrets today as an author that my name is Patrick. I could have changed it long ago. Unfortunately, I've written so many books. If I change it to an African name or a name, well, the readers may no longer recognize me to be the author. So one of the lessons, one of my messages is that you use names that reflect your indigenous culture and your language. Because our names carries our history, our civilization, our philosophy, in fact, our world view of the cosmos. Hence these names. So these names have their own meaning. So I believe that Africans should use their native names. But fortunately, unfortunately, we have to pay for the price of colonization, which means we have to use the names of our colonial masters. And I feel embarrassed sometimes when I'm being addressed as Patrick. Unfortunately, it's too late to change.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we've seen, authors like Chimamanda and Wole Soyinka,
Chinua Achebe, they all have their own colonial names, but they've dropped them.
Yes.
All of them. They don't, like Chinua Achebe, I think his own colonial name is Albert. He doesn't use it any longer. But if you go to his biography, you see Albert.
Now, authors have given, Nigeria a prestigious, should I say, look,
yes.
From the Western world. When you see the names talking about that, do you see yourself, going international, global with your books? And how would you say that you want to, approach that kind of situation? How would you appreciate something like that? I think that's how I want to frame that. Would you want to say your books to reach the international standard where there is a huge recognition for you?
Thank you very much. First of all, as I said before, I am a Nigerian author. Okay, my primary audience is Nigerian children or the Nigerian populace, basically. Okay. Now, in the course of writing, if any publisher wishes to pick any of my work and then sell he's welcome. Okay? But basically, I want to start at home. Or rather, I've started at home. For the past 30 years, I've been writing. Okay, my books are all over Nigeria. I write for the Nigerian children, and they patronize my work, and I'm okay. Okay, but although in the past, I've had the opportunity of traveling to the United States to read my poems. So somehow I've gotten an international exposure. But basically, I feel that my books are for Nigerian people. Okay, every people have what attracts them.
Sure.
For example, if you bring, there are certain books you bring from abroad. If you bring it here, it may not interest us. And somehow my own stories may not appeal to them. So I am not writing for them. However, if they feel that there is something useful in my work, they are welcome.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the
yes.
Westerners appreciate our culture, so I'm sure.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think some of the authors like Chimamanda Adichie have been lucky. They have worked, has international audience. For now, I'm a local author.
A proud one at that.
Particularly as my works is appreciated locally, that's okay for me for now.
Right.
If God willing, in the future I get international audience,
then it's welcome.
Alhamdulillah.
All right, so let's talk about Emeka and the Kidnappers process.
Yes,
you know, how it started. How did you, write, start from deciding this is the story I want to write now?
Yes.
Considering you've written a lot of books, you've published
Yes.
a lot of books. So at what point did you say, this is what I want to write, and what are the process that you went through in completing this amazing story?
Thank you very much. Now, first of all, I have a major problem. Self-censorship. It has become my problem. The Nigerian government has never censored my work, but I do censor my work. One, because I write for children. Basically, there are things we don't put for children to read. Okay, so these are my problems. So there are so many issues, social problems, political problems. My problem is, how do I select the one that is suitable for my audience, young adults, which I've selected. I have about over 20 titles, all for young adults and for children. So these are my problems. So getting a social problem and then reducing the story to a form and pattern in which my readers will appreciate is quite a problem. But eventually, I used to get over it. After some times, I would think about the story, here and there, and then, okay, this one is suitable. For example, I had an issue. A woman wants one of the schools. Say, why are you writing about kidnapping? I said, no, it's a social problem. It's in the news. Turn to your radio, turn to your television. You hear about kidnapping every day. We cannot run away from it. It's like armed robbery. We can't run away from it. It's like stealing, just name it. These are issues. However, the message is that I must make it clear that kidnapping is evil. You must not engage in it. You must not encourage anybody to do it. Everything or anything that could encourage kidnapping should be discouraged. That is the message. Yeah.
And it painted Emeka as a hero. I mean, every young adult would want
to emulate him. Incidentally, Emeka is a series. I mean, he has been appeared in about 5 or so. He appeared in The Secret Place, Emeka and the Kidnappers, Haunted House.
Interesting.
And which other one again? I have about 5 titles, all on the young man Emeka and his adventures. Yeah.
I mean, the young adults need adventure to keep their mind working and expand.
And they read. We'll talk about it. They read a lot.
Indeed.
Young adults constitute the biggest set of readers.
Interesting.
I never knew this.
We'll talk about that, just like you mentioned.
Thank you.
All right, let's quickly, of course, take a short break, and when we come back, Book World continues. Stay with us.
Hello guys, welcome to Showtime.
I don't even believe there's any other industry that will handle me like movie industry.
Yeah.
I told you I'm deep and soaked into movie industry.
In secondary school, there's Fatima and Mariam Adamu, and then we sort of took the names of the characters in that cartoon.
I think entertainers themselves need to wake up and smell the coffee and say, diversification is the way to go. Yes, you can sing or make great beats or act in a film, but what else can you do?
I became one of the best makeup artists in Nigeria. I won AMA Award Best Makeup Artist.
Do you think we are I read the food when I talk to you, you start straight. Attention!
Welcome back to Book World on Trust TV. Now we're talking about the book Emeka and the Kidnapper with the author Patrick Tagbo Oguejiofor. So, Mr. Patrick, thank you for staying with us. So before we went on a break, we talked about so far the journey and the process of writing this particular book. But the ultimate question is, why children and young adults book? I mean, you could have written about anything, but you picked this particular genre, the aspect. Why?
Thank you very much. Now, first of all, I must confess that I did not start my writing career with children and young adults books. Actually, I'm a playwright.
Okay.
I even won a prize, the NYAC drama competition. Yes.
Nice.
I took part and I won. My play was performed at Maiduguri and here in Abuja. Good. So I've also written for radio and the rest of them. But then, my interest in this series is that as a poet too, I published about 4 collections of poetry. Good. Now I noticed that the poetry is, the problem there is that the market, people hardly read poetry, except maybe it is used in school and the rest of it. Same with plays. Although I do write for Radio Nigeria occasionally, but then after some time, I think they have problem with funding, so I stopped. Now, this young adult literature, they read a lot. They read a lot, and I can see that through the sales of the books. They sell in thousands of them. So they want something to engage them, something to excite their mind. So these are the things that send my imagination flying. And then the more the sales of the book, the more the encouragement. So most my encouragement comes through my readers. Okay, because of the large readers I have, I'm encouraged to write more. And moreover, I have 2 idols, Cyprian Ekwensi and Kola Onadipe. These are famous authors of young adult. They are down late, they are so rest in peace now. So there are many of them actually, but these 2 are my favorite. They inspired me so much. So maybe that explains why I choose to write.
And then it is financially rewarding, because we've seen how authors, tend to have difficulty with selling other kinds of books, in Nigeria. So the fact that you actually targeted an audience and it has become, fruitful to you, so that's a big win. Yes.
You mentioned financial for the first time. Well, let me say it here, maybe for the benefit of upcoming authors.
Indeed.
If, as an author, if you want to write for the altruistic reason of sharing your views with the world, with people, and then because you derive inspiration and the pleasure in writing, that is good. But if you want to make money through writing, please forget it.
Okay.
However, this does not mean that money does not come from writing. It does, but you never get rich through writing, except for some few cases, maybe Achebe, perhaps Chimamanda and the rest of them. Yes. So the writing for young people is not basically because of it's financially rewarding. It's basically readers. I have a lot of readers, and they encourage me through the feedbacks I get from them. So because they read my books, and I'm encouraged to write more. So that explains why I have so many titles in the market.
That is really good. So you talk about playwrights, at the earliest stage of your career. And let's talk about adaptation now. Considering that you've been a playwright for a long while, where you write scripts for dramas and all that, have you foreseen, or I don't know if, amongst the 20 books that you've published, if there has been an adaptation of, say, stage drama or a movie? If not, if you should get, that kind of request from, say, movie director, producer, would you take it up?
Yes, for the, is it for the...
Yes, for the...
young adult literature or for the play? Well, they are welcome. Although I've been, in the past, I've gotten some people have approached, but I was not comfortable with them, so I just push it off. But if I get people who are credible, why not? It will help spread the message in the book.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So how do you plan on giving back to the community? I mean, you mentioned it's all about your readers, you know,
Yes.
getting it. But do you have kind of like maybe a way to reach out to up and coming, you know, authors, the younger, the people, your own, should I say readers, right? If you
Thank
can
you.
reach out to them and help them in a way that it will be like, okay, I have made it this far. I'm giving back to my own society.
Thank you very much. I forgot to inform you. I've been a chairman of the Association of Nigerian Authors. I had 2 tenures at Yobe State, and then Abuja here I've also been a chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. So under that organization, I've been able to mentor several young and upcoming authors. But recently I've been forced to leave, you know, this association engages so much of my time. And then I cannot write. And don't forget I'm a civil servant. So I have to give what is due to Caesar and give him what is due to God. So even at that, they used to get across to me, and I offer them whatever assistance that I can. Yeah. Once you writing is inbuilt, once you have been called to the temple of justice, it's there. So all you need to do is to brush it up through reading. And then if you get maybe a senior author, well, he will mentor you. So now, as much as possible, I do. And moreover, I do go to my local community, I donate books to them. Schools where they cannot have access to this book.
That's a good community service.
Yes,
there. It's a good
very small.
Indeed.
That is it.
Oh, that's a really lovely. All right. So here we talk about, you know, we review the book from the author. We would want to see the author, you know, read a page, you know, a favorite page, and then we'll discuss why that page and that particular story.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
So you're reading page 80?
Yes.
81?
81, yes. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm reading from page 81.
Okay.
But the real reason why I called you is in connection with your former domestic servant. One is one. The policeman paused again and looked into Mr. Ike's eyes. You see, Mr. Ike, we must be careful when employing domestic servants. It is imperative that you run a background check and ensure you know whom you are employing before letting them into your house. We've learned our lessons, officer, said Mr. Ike. I am assuring you that this will not happen again. We will be more careful next time. To be cautious is no cowardice, Mr. Ike added. Thank you, Mr. Ike, continued the officer. But that's not enough. That's not all. Another important point is that even after doing a thorough background check before employing a domestic assistant, the way you treat him also matters. The unsatisfactory treatment meted out to him by you may have contributed to luring him into collaborating with his friends to kidnap you, said the officer. And this came like a bombshell to Mr. Ike. There was silence for a minute or so. Thank you.
Interesting. I love it came like a bomb to him. So why this particular, you know, because it comes almost at the end of the book.
Yes,
so
yes.
What does it entail in general?
Good. You know, when you tell a story, every story must have a purpose. Okay? Now, part of the purpose of telling this story is that, one, if you want to engage a domestic assistant, don't just pick anybody. Okay? Do a background check to know the person you are engaging for your own security and for the security of the members of your family. That is one. Two, after you've engaged your assistant, do justice to him. Pay him a living wage. Now, part of the problem here was that the master was not paying him very well, and then when he had an opportunity to collaborate with some more people to kidnap him, I mean, he gave it, and that was what happened. He was kidnapped. So at the end, there should always be a takeaway from a book.
True, true, and that is a very big, you know, takeaway.
Yes.
where it's telling the young adults to be nice and kind to people that work for them, and at the same time not engage, you know, in hurting other people with their greed and all that. That's a really beautiful story there. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick Tagbo Oguejiofor, for joining us to talk about your book, Emeka and the Kidnappers.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
It's nice being with you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right, a quote by Jim Rohn, who said that reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary, which is true. And that is it on today's episode of Book World on Trust TV. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to read a book. Until next time, bye-bye.